The following is a production of Sharkflight Media. Sharkflight Media. Sharkflight Media. Sharkflight Media.
From mechs to mages or agents to argonauts, this is the world of Chris Kennedy Publishing. This is the CKP Future Books Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the March edition of Future Books. This month is a tremendously good month. We have 5 books out this month. Every one of them is by authors that are at the top of their game. Some of the best books that I've read in a long time, and one outstanding book, The Queen's Fixer by Kacey Ezell. This month, we also have our intrepid publisher, Mr. Chris Kennedy. He's taking time to go over the books with us and let us know a little bit about each book so that you can be prepared as they come out to purchase them. I would say go ahead and write a check for 5 books this month. There's not a bad one on the list. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me, Randy. And I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, this month really has something for everyone. And every single one of the books are winners. You've got some great authors, Olthoff, Frisbee, Ezell, Piatt. You know, the stories are great. The universes are great. You've got a Salvage Title, a Four Horsemen, a Last Marines, Abner, Fortis, and then, you know, the start of a new series that I couldn't, you know, I'm as excited about this series as I've been about a series in quite some time. The Ashes of Entecea series is really, I think, going to be a winner, but we'll get to that in due time.
Yep. So let's go ahead and jump off with March 1st. We have Melissa Olthoff. This is the month of Melissa, and she takes the first 2 weeks of the month. And the first one is a Salvage Title Universe novel. It's from her Salvage Bunny universe. Kaylee Jackson. This is the 3rd book in the series, and it is hilarious. It's very good. I think this series is very much the space science fiction version of National Treasure, because we're learning things and there's puzzles that are being put together about a vanished race, and it's exciting, it's funny, and Melissa is the person who writes for CKP who I think writes the very best characters, the characters you want to fall in love with. And even with a bad story, which she doesn't know how to do, you would fall in love with the books just from how good the characters are. Tell us a little bit about Fallout on DARSAANA.
Absolutely. This is, like you said, the 3rd book in her Salvage Bunny series. It was supposed to be the 3rd of a trilogy. Unfortunately, it reached about 150,000 words, and she said, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" And I said, "Melissa, I think your trilogy is actually a 4-book trilogy," which made her happy and made me happy and is going to make everybody else happy too. This 3rd one is every bit as good as the first 2, perhaps better. She's really come into her own with this and really, you know, like you said, makes you care about the characters. I think you feel like you're right there with them. The language isn't stilted. It's very much, you know, how people talk, and you feel like you're there and you want to identify with them, and you want them to succeed. In this one, Kaylee's the first person in the galaxy, the entire galaxy, to have a Acer warbird, and everybody else wants to take it from her. And this is, what would you do for yourself? You know, what would Kaylee do for herself? She's tried to take care of everybody else, but now she finally is forced to look after herself and what this plane is doing to her. So I think it's great. You know, I couldn't be any more excited about it.
Yes, and you know, if you don't know anything about the Salvage Title Universe, all 3 of the Salvage Bunny books are standalone. You don't have to know anything about Salvage Title to enjoy them, and it's a great way to introduce yourself to that universe. So I strongly recommend, if you have any interest at all in Salvage Title, this would be a great place to get your feet wet.
Absolutely.
Then we're going to go to March 8th next week, and this is another Melissa Olthoff novel, Companion in Chains. It's a Four Horsemen universe novel. In this book, Melissa goes to the John Ringo School of Writing. She gets you really involved with a whole bunch of characters that you fall in love with, and then she kills them. So be prepared. It will jerk your heart out. And Melissa is also writing our favorite chipmunks. And man, I'm telling you what, What she does with the chipmunks in this book is a master class in how to write a character. I can't say enough good things about this. One of my favorite books I've read this year. Tell us a little bit about it and give us your impressions of the book.
Okay. This is obviously one of the companion series. Not only does it say it in the name, but you also get the Depic shadow on the front of her fighter. This is, I think, one of the neatest books in the Phoenix Initiative, because it goes places that we haven't been before. It's got bad guys, it's got the Science Guild, doing bad things. It's got good people, trying to save the world. It's classic mill sci-fi. It's a great story. And like I said, it takes us places that we've never been before. And I really like the way she does it and the way she uses the Depic and once again, makes you want to be right there with the main character and fight the fight with him because you want him to win. You're invested in the characters and she really draws you right into this.
And she also writes a Depic character unlike any other Depic we've met so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to say he's down on his luck, because he's not really, but he's had flaws. A lot of times the Depic are super this and super that, without a flaw in them. This one, however, is flawed.
Yeah, he's a wanderer. He's looking for something, and in this book, Melissa finds what he's looking for.
Yeah. And that's just super cool. The way she does all of that is, just works flawlessly. And I can't say enough about it.
And then on March 15th, one of our favorite authors, William Frisbee, he has written the next Last Marine novel, Mother Earth. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. This is the 10th book in the Last Marines. This will be the last one for a while. It is not the last one, but it'll be the last one until he writes the next, kind of little sub arc. This is things are looking bad for the Marines. It has looked bad from the start. It is now about ground zero. They're falling back everywhere. They're losing just about everything that they've got, and they've got to come up with a way to pull it out in the end. They're fighting to the finish, but the finish is coming really close. And what can they do to push that off a little bit more and get some breathing room and maybe, save the day in the end? Things are looking bad, and that's all I can say about that.
And then on March 22nd, we have a new series. This is the first book in the series. There will be another one next month in this series, and it is probably my favorite book that CKP has published so far. It's called The Queen's Fixer. If you're a fan of the golden age of science fiction, the great writers Herbert, Heinlein, Clarke, Cornell, you will love this book. And on top of it being a great book, and I think an important book, it has probably the prettiest cover that CKP has had so far. So tell us about this new universe, this new storyline that everybody, I think, is going to jump into and enjoy.
Okay. It is, the series is Ashes of Entecea, and it's by Kacey Ezell. And she sent me the first book, and she said, what do you think? And I said, oh my God, it's so good. And she said, how good? I said, it's awesome. It's wonderful. What kind of superlative do you want? And she said, well, would you like to write in the universe with me? I was like, sure. So the first one is by Kacey, and the second and third are by both of us. This may end up being an open universe by the time it's all done. But we're here to talk about The Queen's Fixer. And like I said, it's an incredible book. You can tell from the art that this is somewhat of a retro space opera, retro sci-fi. And that's the intention. The art is as gorgeous as anything that we've had. When she first explained it to me, I was like, I don't know, all those bright colors, all this, all that. And I saw it, and I went, oh my God, sold. this is wonderful, and I immediately told Sam Kennedy, who did the art, no relation. I was like, okay, when can I have the second one? When can I have the third one? Because I want them all right now. I've got 3 computers and I need one on each, so the art's great. And it really, I think, lets you know what to expect with the story. And then Kacey delivers, in spades. It's a great story. You're pulling for the main characters the entire way. Once again, you got good guys doing good things and bad guys doing bad things, and you're totally invested in the story.
Yeah, this book is drawn on a very broad canvas. This series of books I think will have legs. I likened it when I spoke with Kacey to Dune meets Heinlein.
Okay, I can see that.
And the best encouragement that I can give people to write it, some of my fondest memories was when I was in my early teens, and I'd grab a bag of books and climb up into a treehouse I had in the top of an old black cherry tree, and I would not come down until it was too dark to read. And this is a book that I would have loved to have had up there to read. It is amazing. It will remind you all. The technology and the world is a modern world, but the writing is very much that 1950s science fiction space opera. It's amazing. Then, after you finish reading that, Abner Fortis rears his head again on March 29th, and we have Holy War by Paul Piatt. So tell us a little bit about that.
What trouble is Abner Fortis in this time? I mean, that's typically how I advertise the Abner Fortis. It's like, what trouble is Abner in this time? Because no matter what he seems to do, he's always in the, anytime something bad happens, he's usually around. Not because he's caused it, but just because things just seem to happen around him.
Yeah, he's got that cloud that just kind of follows him around everywhere he goes.
Yeah, I mean, aliens show up and destroy things. The Kuiper Knights, blow up things. It's bad things just seem to happen around him, and he's left to pull the bacon back out of the fire and put it back into the frying pan. This time, the Kuiper Knights do bad things, kill lots of people, and the government has had enough and says, okay, we're going to put an end to them. Hey, Abner, go get them. And he's got, one of the groups that's going, and he's got to figure out how to do things. And, everything goes badly because, things go badly when you're in the middle of a war. And, sometimes the leaders don't really understand what's going on at the pointy end of the spear. And he gets all that and still has to try and figure out a way to save the day.
That's a full month. 4 books. 5 books. All of them kind of like Garrison Keillor's kids in Lake Wobegon, above average.
I tell you what, if you can't find some books to like this month, I really don't know what to tell you.
And it runs the gamut of, of the science fiction genre. You've got humor, you've got pathos, you've got grand scale epic science fiction. There's something here for everyone.
Absolutely. And it's in, just about all of our favorite universes that we've got going, and brings in a new favorite universe for you too. So if you want old favorites, if you want new favorites, I got something for you.
Well, March is going to be a hard month to beat this year, so I can't wait to see what we do in April.
March is going to be darn hard to beat, but I've got some good things coming in April too.
All right. Well, I know that you're super busy. I'm super busy, so I think we're going to call this the end of the month of March, and we will do this again in April.
And I can't wait. I got some great stuff coming.
Thank you so much, Chris. And guys, we'll talk to you again next month. Guys, I am so happy today to say that we have 2 of my favorite authors of all time, especially in the CKP publishing pantheon. We have Kacey Ezell and Melissa Olthoff. Kacey, we know from her Depic stories in the Four Horsemen universe, Melissa, we know her from her books in the Salvage Title Universe and the Four Horsemen universe. They are both just absolutely wonderful people, and they are great writers. And we have 3 books by them this month, and you should not miss any of them. I want to welcome Kacey and Melissa. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Guys, every one of your books this month were just knocked out of the park. They're completely different from each other. We have very intricate, very just wonderful world building. We have humor. We have puzzles. This is great. I am so happy for you guys. I want to talk to Kacey first because she has a brand new series in a brand new world, and it's
Yes.
The series is going to be called Ashes of Entecea. And I still got it wrong. Entecea, and the first book is The Queen's Fixer, and this book gives you Dune vibes. It gives you Heinlein vibes. It is a fabulous book. So, Kacey, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words. I love being compared to 2 of the masters, right? So The Queen's Fixer is, I wanted to write a space opera story, and I wanted it to kind of be a throwback to some of the really sweeping epics that I read as a kid. This story sort of developed as in a direction that I wasn't initially expecting it to go, but it became obvious fairly quickly that what this really was this is the story of a mother's love set against a backdrop of, this giant sweeping vista of planets and polities that are planets that used to be an empire. So if you can imagine how in Europe in medieval times, there used to be the Roman Empire that was this monolithic organization, and then it fell. And then you had all of these, smaller polities, these kings and these duchies and these other organizations sort of popping up. And that's what gives us the rich tapestry of medieval history. And I was really inspired by that sort of political dynamic, and the questions of what are the interpersonal interactions in that milieu going to be like? And what happens if they're in space? And what happens if there's a real reason, a biological, technological reason that bloodlines and, having the right bloodline on the throne really, truly matters. And so that's what inspired the sort of the world, the Ashes of Entecea universe. And then I started writing The Queen's Fixer, and I realized that this is a story of a mother's love.
Not just a mother's love, but the pathos of the mother, her personal situation, and the person she has to take under her wing just tore my heart out.
Right. Well, thank you. Yeah. That's the goal, right? I'm a little bit of a sadist, and I like to make my audience cry.
You both come from the world of John Ringo, where I love this character. Oh, damn.
Sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Not sorry. No.
Yeah. But yes. So that's the crux of it, right? Like what constitutes a mother? What makes a mother? So anyway, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I also want to say, making the engineering order the religious order.
Right.
That was genius.
So good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So it, I wanted to play with this concept of religion and belief, and essentially Clarke's law of, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Well, again, in medieval history, magic meant many things, but one of the things that it sort of meant, although they didn't call it magic because that had different connotations, was religion, right? It was the province of miracles were the province of religion, and you had, these great pilgrimages that people would make to shrines of saints, and it was a real motivator for a lot of the way that the society functioned, and it played a very distinct role in society. Religion did, and I wanted something that wasn't religion as we recognize it today, but something that was different. And I thought, well, if you have this super advanced technology, which they do have, that allows them to terraform worlds, but only if, only a few people have access to that technology or have the knowledge to understand that technology, it essentially is gonna, if that condition is allowed to persist, it's going to eventually devolve into a kind of a religious sort of devotion to this idea of science, with a big S. So I said that, and then in my head, I heard, "She blinded me with science" from the '80s song. Oh my God! Little Thomas Dolby shout out there for you. Those of you old enough to know who the hell I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, with the goofy sunglasses while he did the video.
Yeah, science. But yeah, so that's that was another thing that I wanted to play with is who are the gatekeepers of technology, right? What happens when technology becomes a source of power? And and there are those who have it, and there are those who don't have it. And what does that look like? How does that devolve?
Well, and I love the fact, and I don't know how you kept all these parts in your head and kept them, kept everything on track, because you've got.
I have a secret weapon, and I'll tell you about it. But go ahead.
You have a religious order who is responsible for authenticating the rulers and have the responsibility of making sure that once they activate something, that they have the ability to manipulate it properly. Right. And I love the fact that the religious order also gave people who were not of the nobility the ability to find a different path if they had the ability to climb up through the ranks, which is very much what the clergy did in the Roman Empire. The third and fourth sons who were never going to inherit anything, they either became soldiers or became clergy. And so this is, as I said before, the most complete book I think you've ever written.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. So again, that was one of the things that I wanted to do. But and I think that as readers progress through the series, they'll see that the conditions that I introduce in Fixer, the action in the Queen's Fixer centers mostly around the Kingdom of Aegon, which is a single planet and its system, and that's the kingdom. As the series continues, we are going to expand out into other polities and other areas, and you'll see that the conditions, the societal conditions in Aegon are not the same as they are everywhere else in the universe, which is very much again how it was in medieval Europe. Medieval England did not look like medieval Italy or, the German states that now comprise the modern state of Germany. At the time, they were various principalities and other holdings, or they were part of the Holy Roman Emperor, or not the emperor himself, but the empire, which was different than the Roman Empire, even though they said it was the same, but it really wasn't the same. There's so many dynamics here and so much fascinating back and forth and push and pull. And I really wanted to create a universe where we could play with that because ding, 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 big news here. This is a shared world, right? So I created this world. Chris Kennedy and I wrote the second and third books in the series. Those will be coming out in April and May. And then right now we're targeting July. We're going to have an anthology with short stories from a bunch of other authors that we've invited to come and play in this universe and develop their corner of what, medieval Europe in space, according to my rules, looks like. So
what was your secret weapon?
Yes. So I hired Joy Wandry to be my continuity editor.
Oh, now that is a great secret weapon.
Yes. Joy is fantastic. Yeah. And she's very good. She's got a very good eye for this kind of detail. And so when I first started this project, And I realized that I did want to make it a shared world, and I wanted to open it up and bring other voices into it. I reached out to her and I said, hey, I know that you do world build, like you will do world Bibles for people and stuff. What would you think about an ongoing arrangement where, for this series, you are the person in charge of keeping the continuity, keeping the timeline straight, and catching any sort of discrepancies before it goes to press. Now, that doesn't, obviously she is human, so that doesn't mean that
you couldn't have picked a better person.
Yeah, but she's so good at it, yes. and so I'm really excited to see how this is all going to unfold. So,
well, I want to give you all the kudos in the world. I want to tell everybody you want to get in on this. This is probably the book that excites me the most since I read The Name of the Wind. So
thank you so much. That's huge. I appreciate that. And good news, the first trilogy's done.
I don't have to wait for 8 years.
Well, the first trilogy. Now, like I said,
R.R. Martin.
No, please don't. That's not who I want to be. Yeah, I'm very excited about this. I really hope that it takes off. I really hope people embrace it and run with it. And, within the CKP sort of family, we have such a great fan base who, like, if you write something that they love, they will take it and they will run with it. And to a certain extent, this is also my love letter to those fans, right? I wanted to give them that sort of old school space opera epic that they could take and love and run and tell everybody about and bring other people into the fandom and, create, just live in this world with me, come live in this world with me and, enjoy the stories. So
you nailed it. And you got a great cover for our first book too. It is beautiful.
Holy smokes. So Sam gorgeous. Kennedy is a genius. So Sam Kennedy is a longtime cover artist for Baen and some other publishers. And apparently he was looking to expand into the indie space because he got hooked up with Chris. And so when we were talking about cover art, Chris was asking me if I had any particular artists that I preferred. And I was like, no, I love, we've got some great cover art at CKP.
Oh yeah. The covers have come so far in 2 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, I'm open to anything. And he was like, well, let's see if Sam's available. And I was like, oh, who's Sam? And he was like, oh, Sam Kennedy. And I was like, wait a minute. Sam Kennedy, who did Marisa Wolf's Beyond Enemies, Sam Kennedy? And he's like, yeah, he's going to do covers for us. And I was like, holy smokes, that's awesome. So yeah, great guy, great artist. He, it was really cool too, because I talked to him. He asked if he could talk to me about, the concept of the book and stuff. And so I kind of gave him a synopsis of the story, The Queen's Fixer. We talked a little bit about the aesthetics. And when I said to him that I wanted something that had, that was futuristic and space opera like and had like that sweeping vista with the science fiction elements of like the planet in the background and the spaceships and stuff like that. But I wanted it to have kind of an old world, medieval Europe feel to it. And he was like, okay, I think I got it. And then he delivered that cover and oh my gosh, did he nail that aesthetic? It looks like medieval Europe in space.
It does. And how people do that, I have no idea. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler. So it's one of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen.
I think so too. I might be seeing about getting prints for my wall.
I was going to mention that off air.
You should. Yeah, I think I will.
I knew David Weber when I first got married. We lived close to each other. And when I found out how close he lived to me, it was literally within walking distance of my house. Mm-hmm. And so I walked over to his house and just knocked on the door. He's such a nice guy. And so he opened the door and we talked for a while and he asked me to come in and he had the covers of every Honor Harrington book to that point, cool. The artwork hanging in his living room.
Sam absolutely got the characters right. He got the setting right. It's a gorgeous cover. So
I am so happy for you. And not that I don't want to talk more to you. I would love to do this for 4 hours, but we've got somebody else who is a very good friend of yours.
So excited.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I would like to second what Randall said though, because I am all the smug over here sitting here going, I read the Queen's Fixer like damn near 2 years ago.
Yeah, she was one of my beta readers.
It is phenomenal. It gives, like you said, the Dune vibes, but also gave me like the Pern vibes of just that old school and just, I love it so much. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I just wanted to crawl up my treehouse and curl up and read it like I did when I was like 12 years old. And I'd go to the youth bookstore and carry a bag of books and not come down until I couldn't read because it was too dark.
Well, thank you. Yeah, maybe I'll figure out a way to work that into a tagline for it. Like, this is the book to crawl in your treehouse with.
I know. Now I want a treehouse.
Right? Yeah, I totally want a treehouse. How am I going to read all these great books without a treehouse? Come on.
It's ruined now.
First, we have Kacey, who has written this intricate, like super clockwork piece of writing. Overachieving in technical details. And then we go to Melissa, who has not one but 2 books out this month.
Books.
And
hey.
I don't know when she sleeps, because this year she has been just putting out books the way I make telephone calls.
Yeah, she's great. She's very prolific, super fast. So, and they're good books too.
Thank you.
Oh, no, they are great books. She writes in the Warner Brothers voice, because you have all these cartoons with things blowing up, and then she writes in her Groucho Marx voice that makes you laugh out loud at 3:00 in the morning, and your wife rolls over and says, "Will you shut up?"
New goal.
New goal. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Fallout on DARSAANA. I have a few notes. Having a inanimate technological product be a real living character that makes, that is just smug and sarcastic and great. One of my notes was, if you like National Treasure, you ought to read this book, because it has the puzzle elements of, as we go along, putting the puzzle together to figure out why these things work the way they do. The fact that in this book, you take the crew from the Winter Nights and have them meet Harmon and his crew. That was great. Tell us about Fallout on DARSAANA, why people should read it.
So Fallout on DARSAANA is the 3rd book in the Salvage Bunny. It was supposed to be trilogy, y'all. And,
it's going to go longer.
Yeah, it's going to be a 4-book trilogy. It's totally a thing. I do have a very distinct memory of in our little CKP author chat, going, man, this book is just getting longer and longer. And Chris Kennedy, he's like, are you sure it's not 2 books? And I'm like, oh, crap. Yeah, it's 2 books.
Maybe.
We're going to call this a learning moment, growth. But it was really, really a good teachable moment, though, because I'm like, oh, yes, because then I could expand all this stuff I was going to cram into this last little 20,000 words, and it's its own other book now. And then I got to take a tiny little battle that was not supposed to be big, and I had to change it into this epic final battle, and that took 18 tries, but I got it right.
Yeah, you did.
I mean, it's not always easy, but it's fun. Even when it was hard, it's fun. And I really hope that showed through, because Kaylee and the Knights and her friends and her sister and all that stuff, it's just, I love the character interaction between them. I love imagining how they would actually talk, because I can hear them in my head. I swear I'm not crazy, even though my husband thinks I am, but I can hear them, and I can picture where they're at and what they would do and how they would react. And it was just so much fun to write them. This one.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a trilogy on the history of the Kitsune.
It's going to happen. I have plans.
Well, I hope you do, because I'm waiting on it. They're fascinating, and I want to know everything.
Me too. I'll tell you when I figure it out. Oh man, but Nightfall Under Kyros, which was Salvage Bunny 2, like Kaylee made some choices, right? Like she figured out exactly how far she would go, what she would sacrifice to save her friends. And then this one, she really has to ask herself what she would do, what she's willing to do to save herself. And the answer is not what she would have expected. So it was a lot of fun to explore that. The shared universe aspect is always so much fun to play with, like getting to take them to the salvage system and meet with Harmon and all, Clip and all those characters. And then Barut. Oh my gosh, Barut is like the most fun. Like, just picture an AI that is also an enthusiastic 10-year-old or 14-year-old, and you have that character.
I expected him to sign up with them. I hope at some point he does, because he fits right in with that group of characters.
He was so excited for all the cool Assur stuff. So it was a lot of fun writing him in. And of course, at the end of, we go and visit Space Dragonland, because Kaylee, for the life of her, cannot remember that it's Shane Ross. So she calls it Space Dragonland the whole time. But it was a lot of fun.
So, and then you follow that up with a new Four Horsemen novel, Companion in Chains, which has my favorite characters in the whole Four Horsemen universe, the Chipmunks. And I love the fact that by the end of this book, you realize the Chipmunks are not cartoon characters. They are real heroes, and that they are smarter and more creative than people give them credit for.
Mm-hmm. So the Chipmunks were Casey Moore's creation in Unshackled. And Casey was amazing. He's the reason that I started writing in the first place. I consider him one of my mentors, Kevin Eikenberry being another one. And Casey was like, here are all my 4A2 characters. Go. So he trusted me to be able to utilize all of them. And the Chipmunks were so much fun to play with, because they're ridiculous and they're funny, but they're also, like you said, they're real, right? And they have like all these big feelings. They're tiny, but man, they do some amazing things.
Though they be but little, they are fierce.
Oh, yes. And I had always read them till this book as cartoon characters. And in this book, they weren't. They were still funny. They were still over the top in everything they did, but they had a real heroic quality about them. That was some amazing writing. I was so happy for you.
Thank you.
And then what you did with Rebel and Tiger, oh my God, it was so amazing. I love the practical jokes with duckies and the ducks.
Fighter pilot shenanigans.
Yeah.
That reminded me so much of 40 years at the fire department. I won't say that people woke up with stuffed animals, but people woke up with stuffed animals.
Oh man, a lot of that took directly from active duty, right? Like whether it was my experience or my husband Dan's experience as a fighter pilot, like you put people in a small confined space and they have nothing to do, we're gonna cause some shenanigans just because they're bored, right?
You mess with each other, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't compare my experience as a firefighter to you guys' experiences in the military, but I think there are a lot of similarities.
Yeah, there's parallels for sure.
Absolutely.
And John Ringo put it best. I can't remember which book it was in, but he was talking about why people in the kind of professions that we were in rag on each other so much. And he said, you rag on them till breaking while you're hanging around to know how far that they will go before they break when it becomes real. And so the practical jokes, and in both of Melissa's books, the way that they both annoy the crap out of each other and then support each other is exactly what the fire service was. And I think it's probably a lot like the military was. You have each other's back, but you also want to know where they're at in their own headspace when it's not important. So that you don't find out what it is.
Always fun.
Yeah.
Giving each other shit is just, I mean.
And it's interesting because there's a family element there too. There's like a sibling there element too, which is really funny because I have observed, I'm totally calling you out on this one, babe. I have observed a similar dynamic between Melissa and her evil twin, Nick Steverson, her writing partner, Nick Steverson. So Nick also, he also didn't serve in the military, but definitely has that same sort of like, I'm going to push as far as I can just to see what happens type of personality. Oh, do you have a hot button there on this issue? Okay, I'm just going to hit that button repeatedly over and over and over and over and over again, just to see what happens. And it is so funny because he is constantly giving Melissa a ration, right? He's constantly giving her a hard time, constantly like, picking at her, and let one individual make a comment on the internet that is in any way like detracting of her, and Nick bows up. It's so awesome. He's like, no, this is my evil twin. I can mess with her. You don't get to mess with her. And it's very much that like protective, like, you're my people. I can mess with you. Because, there's love there. There's a connection there. But everyone else better stay the F away because, I'll cut you.
Yeah. And, it's kind of weird when you look at all the CKP authors and the CKP family, the support group within CKP. It's the only organization that has grown to this size that I have ever been a part of that there are no assholes.
Yeah, I think that speaks a lot to Chris's leadership. I agree.
And a lot to Kevin too.
Yeah. And I can Barry for sure. And
absolutely. Our VP of awesome.
He's definitely the VP of awesome. And I think it has to do with sort of the expectation of, that they set of, hey, this is what this organization is about. We are about being the rising tide, right? You got a boat, we're going to lift your boat. We're going to lift all the boats,
support each other,
rising tide, support each other. And to bring the conversation back to Melissa, that's one of the things that she and Nick Severson, for that matter, are both really, really good at. Any one of us drops a book, you can count on Melissa and Nick will always be sharing it on their socials. They'll always be talking about it on their podcast. They'll be, it's a big deal. And so, which is great because, again, rising tide lifts all boats. So when it comes time for, something like the month of Melissa, you have all of us talking about it and talking about how great Fallout on DARSAANA is and how much we love Ducky and her physique on the front cover.
Great visual there, Ducky.
Yeah, so
that was a comic book cover.
It was
amazing. I love that cover.
Let me put it this way: if you are a fan of the hourglass female form, you will enjoy the cover of Companions in Chains.
That's a wonderful way to put it. And my husband is a fan. I mean,
mine too. It was like, did you write this? Why didn't you write this?
I love him.
I do too. He's good.
Yes.
But you are definitely the winner of the John Ringo kill characters that you've fallen in love with this month. You killed me.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not mean at all.
I'm in the middle of Gunsmoke, falling in love with Miss Kitty and Festus and all of those, and then all of a sudden I'm only left with Marshall Dillon and one other character. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
Oh, come on. It's not that
days
bad.
It'd be like that.
No.
Guys, I can't tell you how much I read all three of these books back to back. Chris sent them to me at one time. Mm-hmm. And I think I read them I read two in one afternoon, and I got up the next morning and finished the third one.
Damn.
You read fast.
I read a lot.
That's amazing. Ducky was chunky.
Yeah,
that was a long book.
She thick with three C's.
Yeah, she did.
I've read you guys and have spoken with you guys since you started writing with CKP, and where you are now is nothing compared to where you started, and you started at such a high level. I see no cap to where you guys can go.
Thank you.
The Queen's Fixer, it should be on a bookshelf with Dune, with The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, with Rendezvous with Rama. It has that feel. The golden age of science fiction is reborn in that book. And so
Thank you. That means a lot.
Anybody
Hey, that is
who is a real science fiction fan ought to be reading this book. It's the start of something new and something big. I feel the same way about this. I feel when I read the galley proof of Snow Crash about 20 years ago with Neil Stephenson. You throw away stuff that could be entire books in this book. It's amazing. Melissa, once again, I remember your very first book. I remember the first time you were on the podcast. You have grown so much, and your ability to make characters that you fall in love with and you can't wait to read again, and you feel like you have a personal relationship is absolutely incredible. And I hope you guys write until after I die, because I can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much. That's very kind of you, Randall. But stick around for a while.
Please.
Yeah.
I got a lot of miles on me, guys.
We got a lot of books we want you to read.
Yes. You got to stick around. We ain't done.
We're not done. Yeah,
so,
we're not even close.
No.
Kacey, your book comes out what day?
March 22nd. And it is, it's called The Queen's Fixer. It'll be available on Amazon, on Chris Kennedy Publishing. I'll have links on my website. And like I said, first of 3, we're rapid releasing the trilogy. So grab it and buckle up. Time to go.
And Melissa, your 2 books. I know March 1st is the DARSAANA book. Is that correct?
Yep.
That's today.
Now.
Yep, today. And then the Companion in Chains will be what date?
March 8th. So next Friday, I have back-to-back releases.
Yes.
Wow. I swear to God, you just don't slow down a bit, do you? So everybody, you have got a great month ahead of you. You have got 3 books that should cover your entire month. Buy them. Tell your friends. Tell your friends' friends. These girls will be the women that will be winning awards and will be talked about in science fiction for a long time. And you can get in on some of their best work if you buy all 3 of these books this month. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Randall. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the CKP Future Books podcast with host Randall Willis. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider leaving it a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you subscribe. Show likes and channel subscriptions are also much appreciated on the CKP YouTube channel. Finally, if you'd like to know more about this author or others on the CKP roster, visit chriskennedypublishing.com. Thanks for listening to the CKP Future Books podcast. We'll see you next time.